Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our optics webinar today. My name is Jake Donnelly, and I'm a member of the Ratico Automation and Software Product Specialist team for the Northeast. This is my colleague, Brad.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thanks very much for joining. My name's Bradley Willis. I'm on the Automation and Software Product Sales Specialist team as well. I cover the southwest of England and Wales. Yeah, thanks ever so much for spending your Monday afternoon with us. We're really overjoyed with the response we've had to this webinar. I saw the list about a week ago. I can see some of my customers from the southwest are on the call today. So thank you very much indeed for joining. But across the UK, thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Couple of housekeeping things before we jump into the slides. Then our colleague Jackson is monitoring the chat box. There is a Q&A tab, I believe, at the top of your screen. We're certainly welcoming questions and comments throughout the webinar. I think Jackson will be monitoring that chat box as the webinar goes on, so he may well be responding to some questions in the chat box. And there is space at the end of our presentation for us to answer some questions live as well. So this should feel interactive. Please do pop any questions and comments in the chat box.
Yeah.
We're looking for the presentation to last about 30 minutes today. So yes, that does mean this is introductory only. You can't do a deep dive into FactoryTalk Optix in 30 minutes.
It's not possible. It really isn't.
But hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll have a really good baseline understanding of what FactoryTalk Optix is, and the kind of applications that you consider using it for in the future. And ultimately, for those of you that haven't met me and Jake, we are really enthusiastic to talk to you after this webinar. So hopefully this will give you a good baseline understanding and be a good springboard for future conversation around applications.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So we're going to jump into the presentation then. Jake and I want to take you on a journey today. We're going to try and answer who, what, where, why, and how. So starting with who. Rockwell purchased a company, an Italian company called ASEM. This is a few years ago now, probably roughly 5 years ago, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it was around 2020.
Yeah. You may well recognize the ASEM logo from Rockwell's VersaView 6300 range of industrial PCs. So 6300P panel PCs, B box PCs, T thin clients, and M monitors. If you've seen any of the part numbers, you'll know they're quite long. The idea being that these are highly configurable parts, so you can choose exactly how much RAM you need, hard drive, screen size, screen type, bezel type. The list goes on, and that's why there's such a large number of SKUs. The idea being that we can find your Goldilocks porridge. You don't need to pay for something that you don't need. We can find something that's just right for your application. But ASEM don't just do hardware. They were developing a software which has become Rockwell's FactoryTalk Optix, and that is what we're here to talk about today. So moving on to FactoryTalk Optix then, what is it? I appreciate if this is the first time hearing about FactoryTalk Optix, that top line there might not mean a lot to you right now. Open, scalable, flexible, data connectivity and visualization platform. But hopefully by the end of today's presentation, if you can keep that line in mind, you'll have a really good tagline to come back to that explains what FactoryTalk Optix is. So data connectivity and visualization. It is a data connectivity platform. It does not have to have a visualization element. It does not have to be a HMI. This is a software that could live on a box PC or some of the hardware that Jake's going to talk about in a few slides' time. We're going to have a look at the long list of drivers available inside FactoryTalk Optix in a few slides as well. But you could be connecting through to Rockwell PLC, Siemens PLC, Schneider PLC, Omron PLC, Modbus devices. You could be doing the protocol conversion between these devices. And you could be doing your IT/OT convergence by connecting these devices through to OPC UA, through to MQTT, and facilitating that cloud-based connection that a growing number of softwares and solutions are requiring in the industrial space. FactoryTalk Optix is a cloud-based solution. We're going to have a look at FactoryTalk Hub again in a few slides. It is a cloud-based software that facilitates multi-user collaboration. There is a remote access element, so you can deploy from the cloud down to your plant floor. And there are all sorts of tools in FactoryTalk Hub that allow things like version control as well. FactoryTalk Optix Studio, the design software, is free to use. There's nothing stopping you at the end of this presentation going onto FactoryTalk Hub and having a look at FactoryTalk Optix Studio, what the application looks like, and getting used to it. There is a pro version that's paid for, but is very cost competitive versus other development softwares out there on the marketplace. And really, the paid for version is just adding some of the higher level cloud-based functionality.
Absolutely. It enables that multi-user collaboration in the cloud, version control, and being able to access one project from multiple users in one place. That's what the pro version is really for.
Absolutely, yes. So hopefully that's gone some way to introducing FactoryTalk Optix. Data connectivity, you can have a look at the long list of drivers in a few slides' time, and it's got that visualization element as well. It's a really modern, fresh feeling HMI platform, and we're going to have a look at how you deploy that FactoryTalk Optix. Over to Jake with the where.
Yeah, so you might traditionally think of a solution like this as a HMI, and certainly you can use it as a HMI. There are two families at the moment which you can deploy your projects to and use at a local HMI level. There is the Optix Panel Compact and the Optix Panel Standard. Firstly, the Compact, it just comes in two sizes, the 4-inch and the 7-inch, with two configurations, either a single touch resistive screen with an aluminium bezel, or a true flat aluminium and glass front panel, which is a capacitive multi-touch, much like your mobile phones. If you want a pinch and zoom function, you've got the ability to do that now with graphs and the like to be able to control your data more accurately. This comes with 1 gigabit Ethernet port, 1 USB 2.0 port, and a small runtime license built into the HMI. The runtime licenses we will go through shortly to explain what they are. Now on to the next one, the standards. This is a much larger range and where most people will sit with their Optix panels. This goes from the size of 7-inch all the way up to 21.5-inch, the largest size. There's two ratios, 4.3 aspect ratio and a wide aspect ratio, either for an aluminium bezel with resistive single touch again, true flat aluminium and glass, capacitive multi-touch, or a third option in the standard, a true flat stainless steel front panel in single touch for your IP69 needs. 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, 2 USB ports, and a license embedded at medium, which can be upgraded to large. Just to note, the 2 Ethernet ports generally are used as a LAN port and a WAN port, not for a DLR configuration. Just like to point out there. Just as a little tidbit, before we move on to the next slide, there is another family of Optix panels that I've heard will be releasing in Q3, maybe in Q4, depending on development time. Optix Panel Lite. And for those that are familiar with PanelView 800s, these will be the same footprint, cutout size as the PanelView 800s for those that wish to move their projects across to Optix. It just helps fill that gap.
And if you're feeling there's a lot of hardware out there, just a reminder, Jake and I are really looking forward to speaking to you following the webinar. If you're not quite sure whether it's the compact or the standard that fits your application, hopefully you'll have a bit more information by the end of the presentation, but please don't suffer in silence and get in touch with us following the webinar today.
Well, on the next slide, this alludes to something that Brad mentioned earlier with it not necessarily needing a head on your project or a screen. Some people call it a head, who knows what you'd call it. But if you just need some back-end functionality and you don't need information on a screen or want it to be available to people as they walk past, you might think of putting it on something like a compute module that we have here, the Control Logics format. This has FactoryTalk Optix Runtime Extra Small built in, which can be upgraded either to small, medium or large. It also has Runtime FactoryTalk Remote Access Pro built into it as well. We haven't touched on the remote access yet, but Brad's going to go through
it. Is coming
in a couple of slides. Some other capability as well is Docker engines. So those that might be familiar with using Docker container applications, Optix is capable of doing that as well, not just here, but also on the HMIs as well.
And I've got a sneaky peek as well. So Jake's mentioned that they've got the Optix Panel Lite in the roadmap. I've just come back from the Rockwell EMEA 2025 conference in Rome last week. Anybody on the call that I bumped into last week? hello and welcome. Nice to see you again. There is going to be another piece of hardware coming through called the Optix Edge module, which is very, very similar in capability, roughly speaking, to the compute module that Jake's just discussed, but it's not going to require that control logics backplane. So for those control logics applications, you've got a compute module that can slide straight into your backplane. For those other applications where a separate standalone module might be a better fit, we're going to have something coming through for those applications as well. Again, we're looking to offer you the Goldilocks porridge. Whatever's right for your application, we're going to have something there in our basket of goods to satisfy those needs. Okay.
Excellent, Rob. Thank you. Hot off the press, you hear it here first.
Well, that's why it's worth turning up live.
Yes. So the final part that I want to touch on is just the licenses. You've heard me mention these runtimes, extra small, medium, large. What do these mean? If you're familiar with the other HMI platforms, you may be familiar with the runtimes having screen limits, 500 screens or what have you. Now it is feature tokens, so you don't have a screen limit. What you have is base features, and then when you use the more premium features, that allocates tokens against your project, which actually segues quite nicely to Brad's next section.
Indeed, it does. Yes. So on this slide, we are just talking about some of the outstanding features. Please don't think that this is a comprehensive list. We literally would not be able to fit onto one slide a comprehensive list of all the features available inside FactoryTalk Optix. But anything that you're used to seeing from your visualization platform, whether that be alarming, data logging, trending, reporting, all of those features are there. And we've got, a lot of other nice new features that are, really going to carry this software forward as perhaps the solution of choice for a variety of applications moving forwards. So thinking about how feature tokens are sold, there is a runtime sizing tool that I'm going to touch on ever so shortly. But if you have a look on the right-hand side of your screen at the moment, you can see a list of the drivers available inside FactoryTalk Optix. So if you think you need that Modbus driver, that's going to be a feature token. If you need that Melsec driver, another feature token. S7 TCP driver, that's going to be another feature token. If you're not using Omron, if you're not using Ethernet IP, Code Assist, TwinCat, Serial, you don't need to pay for those features. You're not paying for features that you don't need. As I say, it can do with the protocol conversion. It's the data connectivity between those drivers. We've got OPC-UA built into the DNA. So an OPC-UA server, it's going to be a feature token. A client's going to be a feature token. MQTT broker or client. Again, we're thinking about feature tokens. It might sound a little bit complex if this is brand new to you today, but there is a runtime sizing tool that I think will make this very, very simple to figure out. We're going to touch on that in the presentation. And again, me and Jake are really happy to talk to you following the presentation today. We're happy to visit you on site, have a look at all of this together and make sure that you feel confident and comfortable with FactoryTalk Optix moving forwards. Another sort of outstanding feature that we wanted to talk about today is there is a REST API engine built into FactoryTalk Optix. So again, when we think about data connectivity, particularly when we think about IT/OT convergence, we're having more and more customers come along and ask for something that's got an API engine inside of it. FactoryTalk Optix could be the solution for you. Yes. We talked about multi-user collaboration earlier in the presentation. The libraries available inside FactoryTalk Optix facilitate that multi-user collaboration. You can have custom libraries, you can roll those out into other FactoryTalk Optix applications, and you can speed up your development time by utilizing those libraries. There are also pre-built libraries from Rockwell, including the power device library, the safety device library. If you've used a library with another visualization product from Rockwell, it may well be that that library is already available inside FactoryTalk Optix as well. There's a couple of other features listed there on the slide. If any of these features are the kind of thing that you think that's relevant to my plant, that's relevant to my application, please do get in touch. And if there's something not listed on the slide, please get in touch as well, because it may well be that FactoryTalk Optix does actually have that feature. It's so feature rich that this may well become, a really, really key software, a key part of Rockwell's portfolio moving forwards.
Oh, absolutely. And ASEM's development team for Optix is always hard at work. They're keen to get out a major revision at least once a quarter.
So they come thick and fast. They do, yes.
Like to keep us on our toes and make sure we've got plenty to learn. But if it's a feature that isn't out yet, I'm almost certain that it's going to be out in the future.
Hey, we'd appreciate that feedback. And I'm sure the Optix development team would appreciate that feedback. If there is a feature that's not available now, but we think that it's relevant to FactoryTalk Optix as a solution moving forward. Hey, let's have that conversation. Let's see if we can get that into the next release. Okay. So moving on to the next slide then, FactoryTalk Hub. So if you haven't come across FactoryTalk Hub before, FactoryTalk Hub is Rockwell's cloud-based repository for a variety of softwares. We're going to have a look at some of the softwares available inside FactoryTalk Hub on the next slide. It is free to access. There is nothing stopping you opening up another tab now, following the presentation tomorrow morning, having a look at what FactoryTalk Hub's got inside. It's the same Rockwell sign-on that you're using for the PCDC, you're using for the knowledge base. It's got that same single sign-on as the other Rockwell websites available. FactoryTalk Hub is the home of FactoryTalk Optix. It is where you're going to find FactoryTalk Optix. It's where you're going to download FactoryTalk Optix from, even if you're not using those cloud-based features.
Yep.
There's a mention here of FactoryTalk Vault. FactoryTalk Vault is sort of the GitHub-looking repository for Rockwell files and non-Rockwell files. There are a bunch of enhancements that come with using FactoryTalk Vault with Rockwell files, the ability to very quickly and easily change the version of your project, for example, without opening the project, just doing it there in FactoryTalk Vault. So there really is a lot coming out of this presentation, I'm sure, where we can talk in a lot more detail, but we're just touching on a few things today. If these are the kind of things that are of interest to you, please do get in touch. We'll absolutely be happy to talk about these features in more detail. So what does FactoryTalk Hub look like? You type in factorytalkhub.com into your internet browser, and this is the kind of page that you'll be greeted with. I'm signed in as my user, as Bradley Willis in the top right-hand corner, and I am part of the Rutico PSS organization. A user could be a member of more than one organization. You can see that there's a variety of softwares here on the screen. If any of these are jumping out at you as something that you're interested in talking about, please do get in touch. I'm going to highlight FactoryTalk Vault down the bottom there. We've just talked about that. That's the file repository, all based in the cloud. We've got FactoryTalk Remote Access that I'm going to talk about in just a few slides' time. And FactoryTalk Optix, highlighted in the bottom left of the screen there, is where you find all your FactoryTalk Optix goodies. So what does the next page look like? We click FactoryTalk Optix tile, and we're taken through to this page here. Here you can see the option to open in the browser. So open FactoryTalk Optix in that cloud-based environment and work with it in the cloud. And we have the download icon there as well, where you can download the FactoryTalk Optix Studio software onto your laptop. Now, talking about feature tokens, there's the runtime sizing tab highlighted in the top of the screen. You're going to click that runtime sizing tab. You're going to be taken through to a screen where you effectively tick those features that you think are relevant to you, whether it's OPC UA server client, MQTT broker client, which data drivers you feel that you need, what features that you think that you need with inside the visualization element of the FactoryTalk Optix application. And at the end, it will say, this is the estimated number of tokens that you need. And it will also recommend what runtime package you might need. So let's say that you picked 6 feature tokens out. The next cutoff would be 8, which I think is the small.
Yep.
So it would recommend the small. It would even give you a part number there as well that you could get in touch with us at Rutico and get a quotation for. So you're empowered to have a look at this stuff yourself. But again, a reminder, we're here to help you as well. We want you to feel really supported moving forwards with FactoryTalk Optix. Okay. Which takes us on to FactoryTalk Remote Access. So Jake touched on the fact that some of FactoryTalk Remote Access licenses come with the Optix hardware. There are 2 elements involved with FactoryTalk Remote Access. The first is FactoryTalk Remote Access Manager. That's the organization license that allows you to access devices that have FactoryTalk Remote Access installed on them. So you would buy a FactoryTalk Remote Access Manager 1 user license if you just need 1 user accessing 1 device at a time. If your organization, if your application is bigger than that and you need 3 users accessing 3 devices at a time, or 5 users accessing 5 devices at a time, again, there are different licenses available here, different cutoffs. Let's find you the Goldilocks porridge that fits your organization. And then with your FactoryTalk Remote Access Manager, you're going to access a FactoryTalk Remote Access device. So an Optix Panel Compact has that FactoryTalk Remote Access Basic license installed on it. The Optix Panel Standard has the FactoryTalk Remote Access Pro license installed on it. So you don't need anything additional. You just need your FactoryTalk Remote Access Manager to start communicating with these Optix Panel devices. What's the difference between basic and pro? Hopefully you can see what the big difference is on the screen, whether you're connecting through to that VPN via a remote subnet, and whether you need that connection sharing with the on-machine devices. Okay, back over to you, Jake.
No, thank you very much. As Brad said, we can't touch on everything today. This is a big subject where we've spent many months talking to many customers about different applications and how Optix can fit their needs. But hopefully this gives you a nice summary of Optix and what it is, what it can do, maybe spark some interest and some ideas for what future applications you might be able to use it for. I just want to take this moment now just to remind you that we do have a Q&A section open, so if you have any burning questions, please do start lining them up now, as we have a Q&A section at the end where we can answer your questions live. The message that really we want to put across today is that Optix as a solution is not just another HMI. It is an edge gateway, it's a protocol converter, it can house Docker container applications, it can run custom C# code, which really opens up the bespoke nature of Optix.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in FactoryTalk Optix that I don't know how to use, let's put it that way. But, you know, we appreciate that this is an evolving industry. We're having different skill sets come through, particularly sort of at the bottom end of the industry. And FactoryTalk Optix, you know, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people across the spectrum, whether you're used to older Rockwell softwares or whether this might be your first taste of a Rockwell software. FactoryTalk Optix, I'm sure there are going to be tools inside that you're familiar with and are very, very powerful for you as well.
Absolutely. And that's really what we want to get across today. Anything you want to add to the summary, Brad?
I guess just one thing that's probably worth mentioning, and I'm sure there'll be a question that comes in the box about it. I'm a current user of PanelView Plus. I'm a current user of FactoryTalk View SE. I'm a current user of PanelView 5000. Is today the day to switch to FactoryTalk Optix? The message is no. PanelView Pluses aren't going away. FactoryTalk View is still supported. PanelView 5000s aren't going away.
Yeah.
If you've got a machine, you've got a PanelView Plus on it at the moment, you're going to be building another copy of that machine shortly. The PanelView Plus is doing everything that you need. You don't need any of these data connectivity enhancements that FactoryTalk Optix has. The message probably is stay with that PanelView Plus. But if you're designing a new machine, perhaps that machine you're targeting having this machine available for 5, 10, you know, or more years, FactoryTalk Optix is a new software. It's very, very feature rich, and it's very, very well equipped to deal with what I think will be future demands of the industry as IT/OT becomes more and more, as edge becomes more and more, OPC UA becomes embedded in the OT space, MQTT and cloud-based softwares become more and more prevalent. FactoryTalk Optix is going to be equipping you to deal with those future demands.
Absolutely.
So yes, the message is please don't feel the panic to move away from Rockwell's current solutions, but hey, please do get in touch and we can discuss whether FactoryTalk Optix fits your new applications.
And that does cover some of the frequently asked questions that we get as well. Does that, you know, replace the PanelView terminals currently?
Yeah.
Another question that we do get frequently is, well, does this cover all the Rockwell controllers or just the new ones? Well, this does cover all control logics, all compact logics, micro logics, micro 800 and SLC 500s. So it's compatible with all of those controllers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another message that I just want to get across,
sure,
which Brad did touch on earlier, Optix is free. You lose nothing by going to the website, signing up your organization, download Optix, open it up and just have a play. You can start building a project now. It's got a 2-hour runtime emulation built into it. You can connect to your PLCs or even just your project file and just start building that free of charge. You lose nothing. So I really would recommend just downloading it and giving it a go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I think at this point we'll move on to our final slide, which, you know, ultimately the big thing here is thank you very much for sticking with us. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are about to open up to a few questions, but a few things just before I hand over. The webinar has been recorded, so anyone wondering if it's been recorded, you're going to be able to watch this again on demand in future. You know, if your colleague or somebody that you know weren't able to attend today, please do let them know this video will be available.
Yeah.
There's going to be a webinar survey that comes out. It's probably going to be tomorrow, and it'll be via email. This is our inaugural live webinar here at Rutico. So this is probably the point of maximum influence that you can have as one of our customers in terms of dictating what future webinar content might look like, whether you're interested in seeing more of this type of content, what worked today, what didn't work today. We're really interested in that feedback. So please do spare just a couple of minutes to respond to that survey when you get the link through tomorrow.
Absolutely. Genuine feedback. Much appreciated.
Yes. And also, you can see our contact details here, both Jake and I. If you're interested in getting, direct updates on future webinar content, if you're interested in some of the product updates that go out and some of the social updates that go out on Rutico's LinkedIn platform, please do follow us on LinkedIn. It really helps us communicate with our customers, and ultimately that's what we're here to do and what we're excited to do on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Let's go to some questions, shall we?
Yes, we've had a comment. Is there a public repository with examples for applications? There is. So where you go to FactoryTalk Hub and you go to the Optix tile, if you look at the top across near where the runtime sizing tool was, you will see a tab called Resources. If you go into Resources, there will be some demonstration applications which you can look at, open up in the browser, so you can view them in your, in your web browser, or you can download them to a GitHub site. You can download the code and you can load it up in your own Optix project. So if you like the look of one of the demos and it does something, you want to figure out how did they get that to work, pull it into your own project, pull it apart, copy and paste it, take it into your own, and Yeah,
I've got customers that have used that GitHub. It is free to access. You can take. I've got a customer that's taken some MQTT code out of that GitHub to get started with their MQTT connectivity. There's a lot in there. So absolutely there is. Your knowledge is better than mine, because I couldn't quite remember how to get there, but it certainly does exist.
There's lots to remember. Somebody asked about a download link for FactoryTalk Optix. Janixon has provided a link in the Q&A section for you to be able to go straight there.
Yeah.
Should there be any security concerns with opening up part of the OT network to the cloud? That is a fantastic question.
It's a brilliant question, and I think it's going to be difficult to summarize very, very quickly here on the webinar. So I'd certainly be interested in speaking with you more specifically about your application. Are there security concerns? Yes, there is something to be thought about, but our approach to cybersecurity is defense in depth. And there are a lot of features, a lot of tools that we weren't able to talk about in detail today, particularly built into that FactoryTalk remote access, a lot of security features that we're really excited to talk with you about, that hopefully, and I'm sure will, make you feel quite confident in how seriously security has been taken within FactoryTalk Optix. And there's a lot of other resources out there as well. We've got ITOT Consultant here at Rutico. We've got a white paper available from Rockwell called the CPWE, the Converged Plant-Wide Ethernet. We've got a number of resources and a lot of technical expertise in this area here at Rutico. So we'll take a note of that one, I think, Jake, won't we? We'll reach out to you directly. And have that conversation with you. But great question. Thanks for the question. Hopefully that goes some way to at least answering the question. But ultimately, I think it's going to be quite a deep conversation that we have with you.
I think just to expand upon that slightly, maybe just to ease something. If you don't want your OT network to be connected to the cloud, you don't have to. You can create your project locally on the Optix Design Suite. You can download the project to the local HMI, and you can connect it to an isolated OT, and if that's how you want it to work, that's it. Just like any normal, if you are used to using panel views and the like, you can sit it there just how you usually would. If you want to open up to the cloud and start using things like OPC UA servers and clients and going into a cloud database like Microsoft Azure or something like that, that is a decision that you take on your network and what you decide to do and what your security risks are. So it's not open by default. You have to make it open, if that makes sense. I don't want people thinking that you put it in and you just boom, you're in the cloud, because there's no Wi-Fi connection or 4G, 5G connection on the Optix panels themselves. If you want to get out into the wider world, you need to wire the WAN, or you need to, get a hardwired access point. So it is in a sense isolated until you decide it isn't.
Absolutely. And it is a great question, because I can assure you are not the only person thinking about cybersecurity out there right now. It's a real hot topic. As I say, we're well equipped to have this conversation with you. And if anybody else is thinking actually that a cybersecurity conversation could be relevant to me, please do get in touch via any of the details on the screen, via LinkedIn, via the survey that's coming out tomorrow. We're certainly well equipped and excited to have this conversation with you.
And I believe our colleague Darren has posted a knowledge base link in the Q&A as well for that.
Oh, excellent.
Very nice.
What a support team.
So I don't think there are any more questions, Brad, unless there's any last minute ones that anyone wants to put in. I believe that is all we have for you today. Brad?
just one more time, just want to say we really, really appreciate you joining us here today. It really does mean a lot to us. Yeah, hopefully it's been useful. We really look forward to receiving your honest feedback. Please be honest. We won't be offended. Let us know what works, what doesn't. But we really would appreciate it if you fill out that survey. Yeah, follow us on LinkedIn. Get in touch. We're really looking forward to speaking to you. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your evening. Goodbye.